So the Colts have fever players out. Sophie was not there, but they give everyone jerseys, and Caitlin Clark, grew up in Iowa, is a Chiefs fan, refused to wear the Colts jersey. She just held it up like this. And she hasn't gone out and said, like, I didn't do it because I'm a Chiefs fan, but the internet was like, she's a real one.
I love it.
And it's just like,
Sophie Cunningham just dropped an interview that has everyone talking from cussing out leadership to calling out the league, and now throwing some spicy takes about Caitlin Clark. This one's wild. Sophie didn't hold back, not even for a second, and honestly, it's the most real we've heard anyone in months. Do you think Sophie's being honest or just stirring the pot again? Alright, let's get into this, because Sophie Cunningham's latest interview was pure gold. Are you watching the finals?
I guess watched, no. Hell no. I haven't watched a lick of the WNBA. I don't know what's going on. I talked to my teammates like the day that we did exit interviews and all of that. And I haven't, I need a cleanse. Like, I'm booking vacations. Wes, we need to go on a vacation and do a podcast.
Now, before we go any further, let's be clear. Sophie has never been afraid to speak her mind. Whether it's roasting her own team, calling out the WNBA front office, or casually swearing mid-interview, Sophie always finds a way to say exactly what everyone else is too scared to. But this time, she went off about everything.
I can win and roam it. Like, I can be like, I'm here. They brought, I'll put this shit on. Her not doing that is so incredible. I hope she knows how awesome that was.
You sent it yesterday, and I was like I'm not surprised by it. I'm not, because you know what? Everyone's always trying to get her to wear something or do something, and for her to be like, meh.
The setting was simple. Sophie hopped on the Show Me Something podcast back home in Missouri, sipping coffee out of a mug and talking like she just didn't care who was listening. No media filter, no PR tone, just Sophie being Sophie. And somehow, in between stories about horses, weather, and baby fever, she managed to touch every WNBA headline that's been making noise, especially Caitlin Clark. So let's start with that part first. You know how the Indianapolis Colts invited Indiana Fever players to a game recently? Everyone got Colts jerseys. Nice little PR move, right? Except Caitlin Clark wasn't playing along. She grew up in Iowa. She's a massive Chiefs fan. So when they handed her a cold jersey, she didn't put it on. She just held it up. That's it. Didn't wear it, didn't fake a smile, just held it like, yeah, thanks, but I'm good.
So the Colts have fever players out. Sophie was not there, but they give everyone jerseys, and Caitlin Clark, grew up in Iowa, is a Chiefs fan, refused to wear the Colts jersey. She just held it up like this. And she hasn't gone out and said, I didn't do it because I'm a Chiefs fan, but the internet was like, she's a real one.
I love it.
And it's just it's so good. So good.
And the internet went nuts. Fans were calling her a real one, saying Caitlin's staying loyal, and memes were flying all over Twitter like confetti. That's when Sophie chimed in, and her reaction was everything you'd expect from her. She said, straight up, that was awesome. I hope Caitlin knows how cool that was. Then she laughed and said, I'm not even surprised by it. That's totally her. Now keep in mind, Sophie wasn't even at the game. She said she got the hell out of there before the event. But when she saw the video online, she couldn't stop hyping Caitlin up. She said, Caitlin's move, refusing to wear the cold jersey, was real and incredible. And she's right, it's such a small thing, but in a league where everyone's expected to play nice and follow the PR script, that kind of authenticity stands out. Sophie basically said, Caitlin's moment was her favorite thing to happen all week. She even joked about how she could have worn it and smiled, but the fact Caitlin didn't cave made it even better. And honestly, this moment says a lot about why fans love both of them. Caitlin Clark is unapologetically herself. Sophie Cunningham is unapologetically loud. And when one outspoken player recognizes another, it's a rare bit of mutual respect that fans actually enjoy watching. Now that was just the start, because Sophie didn't stop there. She also talked about her own recent controversies, especially the one where she cussed out WNBA leadership and then got fined for it. Remember that? When she went on a rant saying league executives don't know anything about basketball. Yeah, that one. Well, in this interview, Sophie basically said, yeah, I said it, and no, I'm not taking it back. She explained it perfectly. She said, I'm not going back on what I said, but maybe how I said it could have been better. Then she laughed and added, I might have been a little harsh, but it's also just me. That's such a Sophie thing to say. It's half apology, half mic drop. She even admitted she wants to be more mindful in how she talks, because when she cusses, people act like she doesn't know what she's talking about. Her exact words, when I cuss, people think I'm uneducated, but I do know what I'm talking about. I just cuss. Honestly, fair point. She's passionate. That's her whole brand. Then the host asked her, did she regret those comments about Kathy Engelberg or the league office? And Sophie didn't hesitate. She said, no, I meant every word. Maybe I shouldn't have cussed, but I meant it. That's the kind of blunt honesty fans wish more players had. No walking on eggshells, no hiding behind media training, just saying what everyone's already thinking. But the best part, Sophie didn't just talk about herself, she defended Caitlin Clark again, without even realizing it. When asked if she's been watching the WNBA finals, she flat out said, hell no, I haven't watched a lick of the WNBA, I'm on a break. Then she added, good luck to whoever wins. I honestly don't care who wins. Now before anyone jumps on her for that, she actually made a solid point. She said, after a long season filled with injuries, chaos, and drama, she just needed to unplug, and that's something a lot of players feel, but never admit publicly. Sophie explained that when you're in it, when you're competing every day and things go wrong, you need time to reset. Watching other teams play right after you lose, it's painful. So when she said she's on a WNBA cleanse, it wasn't shade, it was burnout. And honestly, after this season, who can blame her? She said she's been relaxing, hanging out with family, and just trying to live a simple life for once. Meanwhile, she's still throwing in those sarcastic one-liners that remind everyone why she's so entertaining. She said, I'm booking vacations. I'm over it. There's drama, but I'm done. Then she joked, let's talk about fashion instead. Only Sophie could transition from talking about league fines to peacoats and Christmas trips in the same breath. But let's rewind to that Caitlin Clark jersey moment for a second, because it actually revealed something deeper. Sophie didn't just think it was funny, she thought it was powerful. She said, it showed that Caitlin knows who she is and doesn't care about trying to please everyone. That's rare in a league where players are constantly expected to be grateful and polished. Sophie even said she hopes Caitlin realizes how iconic that small moment was. And you know what? She's not wrong. That clip of Caitlin holding the jersey became one of the most shared WNBA posts of the week. It showed confidence without saying a single word. Sophie called it awesome, and fans agree because let's be honest, Caitlin Clark could have done the usual PR move, smiled and thrown it on, but she didn't. She just stood her ground politely, and the fans loved it. That's why Sophie relates to her, because both of them are real. They don't fake things for social media or for league approval. Now toward the middle of the interview, Sophie switched gears and started talking about how being outspoken in the WNBA comes with consequences. She said she feels like she represents players who can't say certain things publicly, so she feels responsible for being their voice. Her words, I represent a lot of people who don't say stuff, so I want to make sure I say it right. That's actually a rare level of self-awareness from her. She knows her platform mattered. She knows she's not just speaking for herself, but for players who can't risk a fine or losing sponsorships. And that right there is what separates her from most. She's loud, sure, but it's not just noise. She actually cares about what she's saying. Then she dropped one more gem that got fans talking. When the topic of WNBA leadership came up again, Sophie admitted that she still believes many of the executives don't understand basketball. She said, they might be good business people, but they don't know basketball. That line exploded all over social media the first time she said it, and now she's doubling down. She didn't backtrack. She didn't apologize. She just explained why she feels that way. Because the people making the biggest decisions for players don't seem to understand the game they're building around. It's hard to argue with that. Now, if you followed Sophie for a while, you know this is exactly what fans expect from her. She's the player who says what everyone whispers behind closed doors. And the best part, even when she's saying something controversial, she's somehow still charming about it. Her energy's a mix of country girl honesty and don't mess with me attitude, which makes everything she says sound like half an interview and half a stand-up routine. She'll cuss, laugh, drop a serious take, and then start talking about horses like nothing happened. That's her magic, and that's exactly what this latest interview reminded everyone of. Now, near the end of part 1 of this script, let's tie this back to Caitlin Clark one more time because you can tell Sophie genuinely respects her. She sees the way the league constantly tries to use Caitlin's name for headlines and sponsorships, and you can feel that Sophie's tired of it. She's basically saying, let the players breathe, let Caitlin just be Caitlin. And it's funny because even while Sophie was trying to stay chill on her podcast, you could hear that same energy. She's defending players like Caitlin without even trying to. She said she's taking time off to get pee, and maybe that's exactly what Caitlin needs to after all the noise that surrounded her this year. Both of them have something in common. They're women who refuse to fake it, and in the WNBA right now, that's about as rare as it gets. If you thought Sophie was done after all that, think again, because once the podcast shifted to talking about the offseason, Sophie went full Sophie again. She talked about her cleanse from the league, her knee recovery, and how she's finally getting time to live a normal life for once. But even then, her tone stayed the same. That sarcastic, straight-to-the-point energy that fans can't get enough of. She laughed about being on aunt duty, joked about baby fever, and admitted she's been home long enough to actually get bored. But then she said something deeper. She feels like the WNBA world is always on edge, and she wants to step back before the drama eats her alive. That part hit hard because this season was chaos. From constant injuries, non-stop media fights, and social media blowing up over every small thing Caitlin Clark did, it's been non-stop noise, and Sophie made it clear she's not feeding that noise anymore. When asked if she'd be watching the finals, she said, "Hell no, I haven't watched a lick of the WNBA. I'm booking vacations." That line pretty much sums up her mood. She's over the fake unity talk. She's not mad, just detached, and that's the difference. Sophie's not bitter, she's burned out. She even mentioned how fans think athletes just move on after a loss. But for players like her, it's not that simple. She said, "You can't watch others live your dream right after it ends. You need." That's a real take you don't hear often, especially in a league where most players keep everything polished and professional. Then came the funniest part. Sophie started joking about winter fashion, peacoats, and Christmas bar crawls. Yes, in the same episode where she called out the league, only Sophie could talk about fighting league fines and then instantly pivot to talking about her dream holiday outfit. She said she's tired of sweatshirt fits and wants to look feminine bougie this off-season. Her words, not mine. She said she's upgrading her wardrobe, planning a trip to New York for Christmas, and yes, she's buying a peacoat. It's hilarious, but it also shows her confidence. Sophie knows how to control the conversation. One minute, you're talking about fines and controversies, and the next, you're laughing about winter clothes. That's her way of reminding everyone she's not just the tough player who swears a lot, she's human. Then the topic shifted to her rehab. She said she ditched her leg cast early without the doctor's permission, because in her words, "I'm not patient." When her doctor finally checked her knee, they said she was healing faster than expected. Sophie laughed and said, "Say less." Classic, but the best part came at the very end. The host asked if she had any regrets about how blunt she's been with the league. Sophie took a long pause, then said, "No, I'm proud of speaking up. Someone has to." That single line pretty much defines her whole brand, because no matter what people say about Sophie, too loud, too bold, too emotional, she keeps showing that she's one of the few who actually says what others only whisper. And maybe that's why this interview blew up so fast, because it wasn't just an athlete talking about sports, it was a person being brutally real about pressure, burnout, and keeping your voice in a league that often punishes you for having one. And through all that, she still found time to hype up Caitlin Clark without fake praise, without pretending they're best friends. Just for Sophie saying, "That was awesome. I hope Caitlin knows how cool that was." Wasn't just a random comment. It was one outspoken player recognizing another for doing something bold. Both of them push back against what's expected, and that's why fans love them, even when the league probably wishes they'd both talk less. So yeah, Sophie didn't hold back in this interview. She didn't clean it up for PR. She didn't soften her opinions, and she sure didn't fake excitement about watching the final. She gave fans something they rarely get: honesty with personality. At the end of the day, that's why fans tune in, because Sophie Cunningham might make headlines for her words, but at least they're her own. Say what you want about Sophie Cunningham, but she keeps the league interested, and the fact she can call out leadership, support Caitlin Clark, and still joke about peacoats in one interview, that's talent. What did you think of Sophie's comments? Too real or just right? Drop your thoughts below. Hit like and subscribe for more.